I could have died 2 weeks ago, or at least got seriously injured. So what happened to me? How did I nearly die? Or how could I have died? And did I get any injuries? And what's been happening since? So, some of you may notice I've not filmed anything for 2 weeks. There is other circumstances behind that as well. Steffels had her birthday, so I told her that I wouldn't film that week. And last week's filming was, frankly, an utter disaster. That was partially due to me being stressed, based around what's happened and with my potentially nearly dying, and the shock behind that as well, and the cost implications for me, because that's quite a lot, but I'll get into that. So what actually happened? So when we had the storms a couple of weeks ago, the one that lasted a day, I can't remember what it was called, it had a funny name, I'll share that, I'll put it in. I had to go into work. Originally I wasn't planning on doing. I have the luxury of, when the weather's bad, I can work from home. This is an agreement I have in place with my boss, and it's partially to do with the fact that I live over an hour away from work. So I have the option to be able to work from home. So that was my original plan. So one thing led to another, and it ends up, I needed to go in for a meeting. So gets all my stuff together, gets in my car, sets off. The winds are atrocious. So I'm driving along the motorway, there's cars blowing everywhere. So I make the decision to go onto the B roads. They're just as quick. They're all 60 and 70 limits between where I live and there. So I get off, at least I'm not going to get hit by a car that's being blown about. As I said, I decided to go onto these B roads. Driving down them, about a mile down the road, and I see something black in front of my car. I'm doing 60 mile an hour at this point, well within the speed limit. The road was almost a 70 limit. I'm trying to be conservative because of the winds and because of the weather. And next news, my car takes off in the air. I don't realise this until I land, in which case it gets really sharp pains in my back. But I carry on. There's no real noise coming from the car. Nothing's damaged or anything. I pulls over a couple of seconds later just to make sure nothing's overly damaged. Obviously I do a lot of miles, and looks behind me, and there's a giant tree, a big chunk of tree in the road. A big branch just fell out of the tree, which I've hit at 60 mile an hour. Now this branch is probably a foot wide. It's quite a decent sized branch. Luckily my car's got a lot of ground clearance, and I was very lucky because I've jumped vertical off it. Had it come down a couple of seconds before, or even a second before, I'd have probably tried to swerve and have hit it on an angle, and I'd have rolled. And at 60 mile an hour on that very, very tight country lane with all the trees in it, chances are it killed me. So it gets in the car, I don't feel any pain, there's nothing really happened to me. I carries on driving, gets to work, meeting's cancelled. So I'm livid at this point. Drove all this way, potentially damaged my car. I don't know what I've done to myself because there's no real pain at the minute. So finishes my day's work, goes home. That's fine. A couple of days later, I start getting a bit of a twinge in my back. So I think nothing of it, carries on going to work. And then it gets to about 24 hours after that. And I'm in absolute agony. I can't walk. I could barely see. I was dizzy. The entire one side of my body had gone numb. At this point, I was speaking to Steffel, and I don't go to hospital for anything. And I said, I think I need to go. A lot of pain all down my left side. So I'm thinking I potentially had a stroke maybe because of the stress of it all, or something like that, because I didn't get any pain at the time. So goes to hospital to be sent home and told to take paracetamol. After no examinations, because our NHS services, I'm sorry if you work for them, are underfunded, and that makes them not very good. And then ends up a week at home. So once again, I can work from home, so it's fine. I don't miss any work. But once again, I can still barely walk. This week, I'm slightly more mobile, but still in a lot of pain. Still don't know what I've done to my back or side. I know it isn't a stroke. I have had some bloods and I've had an ECG and stuff. So I know my heart's not affected by it. I know that I haven't had a stroke, which is good. They have picked up stuff with my liver function, so that's quite high. But that was to be expected with the size of me, and I have quite a high functioning liver anyway, so that wasn't anything out of the ordinary. And then I'm back driving at this point, so I get to my car, I'm trying to drive to work, and the car doesn't feel right or sound right. There's a lot of rattling, a lot of banging from the car. Feels a little bit unresponsive, and I've got all sorts of lights coming on the dashboard. So I has a look, checks all my fluids, checks on what best I can from getting underneath the car with my bad back. Can't see anything underneath, but what I have noticed is puddles on my drive. So when I've checked the fluids, I've got no oil in it, and also no coolant. So I changes the oil, puts a new oil filter in it, despite the fact I shouldn't have done with my bad back. Fills the coolant up, and then the coolant's all falling out again, and the oil's still going down. So it's due an MOT anyway, so I arranges an MOT, arranges a service, takes it into the garage. Obviously it's failed its MOT. I knew that was coming, but I booked it in for both because at least then I'd be a bit more clearer on what damages were done. So I get the report back and the video back. It turns out I broke all 4 suspension springs, the ball joints on both front wheels. I broke my steering rack. The whole coolant system's destroyed. I've broke one of my wheels and the tyre, so that needs replacing. And there's a multitude of other smaller things that's happened to it that I can't fully remember off the top of my head. But to cut a long story short, this now sets me back £1,700. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not begging for money or anything here. I'm not setting up a Just Giving or anything like that. It's just, that's the facts. Which means you'll have seen the area I am a few times in the videos. I'm local for the next few weeks. It is what it is. But I'm okay. I've got some back pain, but upon reflection and looking at it, and with the things I've just talked about, it could have been a lot worse. I hit a tree at 60 mile an hour and I broke my car, and I've got a little bit of back pain. Well, a lot of back pain. But I'm alive. I'm back out again after 2 weeks, and I'm back filming again. Life's getting back on track. Just a little bit financially worse off. But I like to look on the bright side of things. My car's going to be like brand new when it comes back because I'm replacing everything. So it's one of them things. But that's where I've been. That's what I've been up to. That's why I've not been filming. I will try and finish the video that I started last week. Like I said, I made a lot of mistakes in that. There was bits where I'd managed to film the bits that I didn't want to film and didn't film the bits that I did want to film. I had no idea how I did that, and I did that twice. I then took the camera out with Steph. She made me come out with her. I was hobbling along, not able to walk very well, but she took the dogs for me, and I filmed again. All the segments I wanted, to then find out that I'd lost my brand new DJI mic that I've bought. So that was the first time filming with it as well. The mics, standalone units are £80. I've got obviously the full unit with the receiver and everything, but it's the standalone unit I've had to replace. Luckily, some very kind woman, while I was out hiking, had found it, and she'd followed me along the trail. So while I was looking for it, she came back and gave it to me. But at that point, I called it last week and decided it wasn't worth filming. My head wasn't in a good place. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I was making silly mistakes and almost costly mistakes. So I'll try and film the rest of that this week, get the bits in that I messed up, and we'll go from there. But hopefully normal service is resumed now. Like I said, there's going to be a lot more local stuff just until I've got the car back. It's one of them things. I was hoping to get a camp in this weekend, but obviously that's not going to happen now. Partially because camping and lying down camp mat sounds awful with my back, and partially because I just can't get anywhere at the minute. Video should be up on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. If I manage to complete that other one, I'll try and get that out tomorrow as well. Thank you for having patience with me. Thank you for still viewing my videos. I've still noticed my viewer count going up. And thank you for all the new people that have subscribed while I've been off, because I've received quite a few new ones. So thank you for all that, and I will catch you in a week.